In the first part of lesson 1.1, we're going to graph y equals 2x squared, and then we're going to compare it to the parent function y equals x squared. What I believe we need to do first is to go ahead and graph our function y equals x squared, which is our parent function. So what I want to do right over here is I want to make me a nice table that I can use to spit in values for my x, plug it into the parent function y equals x squared. That will determine my y value. I will have created some ordered pairs I can graph. Okay? Now let me go ahead and tell you, it's always prudent to pick positive numbers for the x value and then some negative values for the x value, including 0. So what I like to do is to go -2, -1, 0, +1, and +2. That'll give us a good idea of what our parent function looks like. Now, anywhere we see an x in there, we're going to plug in our -2. So it's going to be -2 squared, -1 squared, 0 squared, 1 squared, and 2 squared. I will evaluate those with a calculator. If you've got a calculator at home, go ahead and stick in -2 squared. Now keep in mind, it's the whole quantity -2 squared. -2 times -2 gives us a +4. That gives us a +1. 0 squared is 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. Now, we got to choose the x values. We determined our y values. And now we have ordered pairs, -2, 4, -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. Okay? Now, on this side of the board, I want to go ahead and create me a graph. I'll use red ink for the graph. Not bad. I'll continue to use blue ink. I will graph my 5 ordered pairs to create my parent function y equals x squared. -2, 4 is somewhere about right in there. -1, 1 would be about right there. 0, 0, 1, 1, and finally 2, 4. Okay? And I can create my parabola or my quadratic function y equals x squared. Here again, I'm not an artist, but that's not a bad rendering of what our parent function y equals x squared looks like. Now, to be able to compare the graph y equals 2x squared to the parent function, I'm going to need to graph it. I'll use green ink to do that. I will go over here and I will make another chart or table. That's my x column. I will put my function y equals 2x squared right there. That will determine my y, and then I will have my ordered pair xy. Now, let's pick some good values for this. 2, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Always making sure I pick 1 or 2 negatives, 1 or 2 positives, and then 0. That's prudent. Anywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a -2. Anywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a -1. Anywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a 0. Anywhere I see a x, I'm going to put a 1. And anywhere I see an x, I'm finally going to put a 2. Here again, in my classroom for Algebra 2, we'll use our calculator to evaluate these. I can do them in my head. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 0 squared is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. And finally, 2 squared is 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Okay? That creates my ordered pair. Negative 2, 8. Negative 1, 2. 0, 0. 1, 2. And 2, 8. So by picking these 5 values for x, plugging them into my function, y equals 2x squared, I can determine my y, which gives me 5 ordered pairs. Now, I can now come back to my graph. I can graph my 5 ordered pairs in green ink. Negative 2, 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about right in there. Okay? Negative 1, 2. 0, 0. 1, 2. 2, 8. And now I'll use my green line to graph y equals 2x squared. Now, here again, I'm not an artist, but now we can see a blue drawing and a green drawing. Now, remember, the blue drawing is the parent, and this is the function that we're dealing with. Okay? If we compare, what do you notice? The vertex have the same vertex. Axis of symmetry, haven't talked about it, but they're both going to have the same axis of symmetry. One skinnier than the other. We could say our function, y equals 2x squared, is skinnier or narrower than the parent function. Okay? Now, one little piece of information. What coefficient goes in front of this right here? An understood 1. So that's one way of graphing y equals 2x squared, comparing it to the parent function y equals x squared, using tables, plugging in values to determine the ordered pairs.